Good morning, Thrive. Good to have all of you with us. I've got my chat open right here in front of me. Let me know where you're watching from. For those who are maybe just joining us on television, make sure you guys call, connect with us. Also, I'd encourage you, open up your iPad, open up a phone to our link and join the chat as well. Let us know what we can pray for you for. I often get text messages from my team in real time about the prayer requests that are coming in as the show is happening. So it's one of the coolest things that we get to pray for your situation. And also, there's a lot of people who don't have the guts to call in. Call in. Come on. This is people who are ready to pray and believe with you, to speak faith to you. There's so many stories. In fact, my mom actually worked for the donor team. So every once in a while, we get to just have these really cool conversations about this person who's believing for this or this prayer. Some people call in and just go, I have nothing to pray for. I'm just here to say, keep doing what you're doing. And God bless you guys. You guys are making a difference. And I'm going, thank you for that. Like, it's just one of the coolest things. I'm joined today by my wife, Tamara, and my sister-in-law, Eden.
Hello, hello.
Oh, good
ladies.
to be here.
Good to be here, yeah.
Good to be on the couch.
I don't know why. Every time I intro, I feel like I always have my humor.
You have to outdo your last
it's my humor. My humor is like, it's the wrong timing for the wrong thing, and I always want to do it like all the time.
Live
like,
TV.
Even like, for example, and I know this is just the way the brain works, I think sometimes, but like I was getting on a plane the other day.
No.
Tamara says, oh no, this is serious. It's like the child.
Okay,
No, it's not serious. It's bad. The person was like stepping on the plane and I was like, I wanted to trip them. Like my head was like, what would happen if I tripped them? And then inside you're like,
Boys
no, that's not.
So weird.
I feel like that is such a boy thing.
Boys are weird.
It's like if I did.
It is weird.
If I did this right now, how
No,
would
I know. 100%.
You would have gotten kicked off.
No,
the
I know.
plane.
It's not actually logical, but my head just like, you just see that, and I was like, you could trip them.
You did that to our son when he was like,
Yes.
he was like
Yes.
almost 2 or 2.
Oh, I'm sure Jason.
And
the one in front
Ellis,
of the-
yes,
the-
Ellis
oh, yeah.
we were on a lawn outside, and he was just walking, doing like his little cute
So
little toddler walk,
it's
and
in
then
front of my-
I could just tell Jeremy looked at him and was just like,
Well, because he was reaching down, he was picking up a bunch of leaves.
So mean. And
right
so
in front of me,
Jeremy-
and so I just.
Jeremy just, no, don't, you're not
Well,
like.
it's softer than that. Like,
It wasn't
You
mean. It was
put
just
your-
a
the
gentle
tip,
tap.
You put the tip of your foot and bumped
And just
his
notched
bum.
him over.
He face planted.
he faced and then rolled.
And then I just looked at Jeremy.
And then I turned around
And
and-
Jeremy feels bad now. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that's what was going to happen. I'm like, what did you think was going to happen?
And this is right on Talbot Avenue in Winnipeg, for those who know Talbot. So there's buses right there.
There
and there's
is a bus.
stop. So the bus stopped right there. I pushed
And
my son over. I turn around. There's like
The
30 people that are like,
faces of people.
What is it with dads and like sort of teasing their
But I
kids?
feel like
Because
boys
Jay's
do
the
that.
same way.
They don't they don't think that
They wanna toughen
the
their kids up.
repercussion's gonna be bad. But then in my
It's just-
head,
I
I'm
think
like,
it's just the boy in
I'm
every
like,
man.
how do you
Never
not
goes away.
think I might hurt this child if I push him over and he
Now
face
I know
slams
where
into the
Ellis
floor?
gets it from.
Well, I was gonna say I live now
Ellis
through
is a
him
little
sometimes.
bit like that.
Like Ellis is. I don't know if I should show this one. The trampoline off of our deck.
No, you should not.
Yeah, I'd like to show
No,
them.
thank you. No,
I
thank
really
you.
would.
No, thank you.
I think I'm gonna show it.
He
No,
jumped
no.
from a high place.
I gotta show it.
No, don't.
Why?
Please don't.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Anyway, I live through my son now, where he's like, "You think I could do it?" I'm like, "I do think you could do it." And then he's like, "Should I do it?" I'm like, "I'm trying to decide right now." So
Because you
I
want to
feel
push
like-
your kids,
Yeah.
but you're like, you don't want to push them too
there's
much.
the line.
There's
and,
a line.
And then I also believe in doing it with dad present,
Yeah.
so that I can be like, "Whoa, hey, yeah, I'll give you some leash, but let's figure out what's wisdom here,
Yeah.
and how to do it properly."
We
Because
had one of his friends over, and you were like, I was gonna let him do it too, but then
I
in the back of
didn't.
my
I
mind, I
didn't.
was like, oh, would they be okay if
Like
he
the
did
parents.
something? Yes.
that's
Yeah.
a good parent, is it not?
But then in my head, I was like, but you didn't think that about our son?
Well, it's a little different. I want
let's
to push him
just,
harder
anyways, you guys.
because he has that like
This is what I have to live with every single
a big kid.
day.
It's so funny.
Because Ellis has that like he's pretty fearless.
Of course he
But
is.
I have to like guard it.
Well,
and I'm glad he's got it.
You gotta rein it in just a little
Just
bit.
a little.
Just a
Because
little
boys
bit.
do tend to not understand some of the consequences.
Yeah.
Which is, I get it's a good thing.
Yeah,
God
like we
gave
have-
them
we have-
testosterone and God gave
Yeah.
them that like warrior spirit.
He's
right?
had a few experiences that have been very safe accidents, like when we first got him the motorcycle. Remember, when I don't think you were there.
You didn't get him a motorcycle.
not a
He was
motorbike.
riding.
A
He
dirt
was
bike,
riding
dirt
a
bike.
dirt bike.
It's a motorcycle, motorcycle.
okay.
Anyone in the comments, please
I
back
guess
me up.
it's kind of like it.
It's got a
yeah.
motor and it's a cycle.
But he
That's-
only does it in like the dirt fields and
Yes,
stuff. He's not on the
yes.
highways.
No, of course not on the highways. But we're living at an acreage. I'm like stumbling over my words now. We're living at an acreage. I feel like I'm a neglecting bad father. And
What? No, I can't.
we're gonna talk about the Bible soon. I swear to you. I'm just trying to defend myself. And he was riding the motorcycle around the property through kind of like trees and like stuff. And he's going very slow. I'm teaching him kind of the power of the motor and what gears to be in. And he's young. He was 5 at the time. Could barely touch the ground. And so he's kind of, I could see his confidence building and building and building, and he's going a little too fast. So then I kind of I'm like, slow it down. And he goes in between these couple trees very slowly, but the one tree caught his handlebar, turned his wheel like this, then it threw him over the bar, and then he hit the tree, turned, laid on his back, and he was pretty shaken up. And so I grabbed the bike, I grab him, I get him up, I guess, and he was like really shaky. He's like, let's go inside. And this is where the dad comes in, because I was like, no, we're not going inside. He's like, no, I want to go inside, Dad. And he starts to cry. And I don't know why I'm laughing, because I can hear you, that's probably why I'm laughing. And I looked at him and I said, you go inside and you don't get on this bike, you're grounded all week. You're getting on this bike, and if you get on the bike, you're not grounded. And he's like, okay, Dad, okay. And he gets on the bike and he got on, and then sure enough, boom, back to it.
Yeah.
No problem. And because I knew if I let that fear take over him, he probably wouldn't get back on the bike.
You just play the same movie over and over and over and over.
And then he'd be afraid of the thing that he didn't know he loves. And so that's where the balance of mom and dad is so good.
Well, I mean, it's just good.
I'm
no, I know you're very tough that way too.
I'm very let's test the limits to a degree.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think people who watch what you do on the outside just look at me like, is your husband actually? I'm like, yes, this is what's happening right now, and nothing's gonna change, and this is just how we need to face this.
It's a
There's
dad.
lots of people. Yeah, off-road motorcycle. Thank you, Amanda. Off-road motorcycle, right?
But it's a dirt bike.
It's a dirt bike.
Yes,
That a
but it's the same
5-year-old
thing.
could fit. It
For
wasn't
sure,
like
for sure.
an
Yeah,
adult
it's a
motorcycle.
Yeah,
Honda Sierra.
you're making it seem like you gave him like an adult one, and he could everything was
Then he hit a
safe.
tree.
Let's talk the word.
Everything was safe. Everything was safe.
You know,
funny.
I'm going to tease the topic, and actually I want to show you a testimony of a good friend of ours who had an amazing miracle and experience through the power of her imagination. And that's today's devotional. So if you don't have the devotional, open up your email, get to today's devotional. If you have the physical one in front of you, flip to today, October 22nd, A Disciplined Imagination, which is actually based off of one of Eden's messages and thoughts, and it's based off Isaiah 26, verses 3. So I'm going to read it to you, and then I'd love to show you this testimony. And don't tune out to these testimonies. I think sometimes people think it's a good time to grab a coffee or flip open the Instagram map and do this. These testimonies are here to get your imagination going for when trials and things come your way, when you have a foundation of like God working miracles in your brain.
Yeah.
What he can do for one, he'll do for another. And you need to know that. Like so focus on this and see the power of God at work and see what God's capable of through someone else, so that in your story you can have a testimony hearing the same thing. So this is the verse. Did I read it yet? No. Isaiah 26:3. Perfect, absolute peace surrounds those whose imaginations are consumed with you. They confidently trust in you. Which is so cool, because for the actual last show, we actually talked about that, which is cool. I didn't realize that. But take a look at this testimony. This is Sheila's story, and it's incredibly powerful.
It was literally overnight from day 2 to day 3. I woke up and I couldn't breathe. They did a COVID test, and they determined that I did have the COVID virus. And the one nurse said, you need to call your family and say goodbye. I said, I hear you, but I'm not calling anybody to say goodbye. But I know my husband, and I know he's gonna have a lot of questions. So what am I supposed to tell him? Tell him we'll be in touch with him. So when I did call him, I said, I'm being intubated. He just said, well, what do we do? You get everybody praying. I'll see you soon. And I hung up.
We definitely started a prayer chain. I reached out to some of our contacts and friends and that within the church and family and advised them what was going on. Was there some concern? I guess there was some concern, but there was never worry that she wasn't going to come out of this.
I can fully say that I definitely had that peace that surpasses all understanding. At no point did I ever feel that, it was time for me to graduate to heaven. During the 15 days of being intubated, my kidneys started to shut down, and I was on continual dialysis while I was in the medically induced coma. So the fact that my kidneys weren't functioning made me very, very unwell. That took a big toll on my body. Going into ICU and being intubated and making that phone call wasn't even the hard part of that journey. It was after going through the dialysis. You really have to go into that place of faith within those moments, because that's, I think, where I struggled the most. And, I'd go in there and Dave would have my, ear pods ready for me, and I would put them in and I would just listen to worship music for 4 hours straight.
It's more negativity than there is positivity, unfortunately, in that environment. But I can honestly say, not at one point in time did I think that there was going to be any negative outcomes from this particular journey that Sheila took.
We just rebuked it. You know, we just said, no, this is not what God's plans are for us. And, you know, they'd say, oh, you're so lucky. And, you know, we constantly corrected them and just said, no, I'm blessed. You know, and somebody would say, oh, you're so lucky to be alive. And it's like, no, I'm meant to be here. I think it was the power of our words too and correcting them, and we weren't afraid to correct them. The Bible verse about speaking to that mountain, and those who shall believe shall see it through. And I spoke to those kidneys every single day, and I told them exactly what they needed to do and how they needed to function. And I was very specific. And I said to Dave, I said, we need to set a goal for me coming off dialysis. So we actually set the date. My sister had put in a pool the year prior, but didn't get to swim in it because they had to close it for the year. So we made a plan that in August we were going to go to Winnipeg and we were going to swim in that pool. July 1st, I went in for dialysis. By the 3rd week, they scheduled the OR to have my port out. So I was off dialysis by the end of July, completely done. And we went to Winnipeg in August and we swam in that pool. And it was the most amazing thing we did. My kidney specialist that we see still says, like, I've never, ever seen this happen. So, you know, we give this to God because we know it's His hands all over this. I had so many people sending me things just to keep my mindset where it needed to be, and just reminding me of God's healing. Jeremy reached out and he sent me the Andrew Womack healing series. And I watched that, and that, you know, he has provided that healing for us, and that I just needed to, it was happening, and it was going to take the time it took, but that I was healed. You know what, Miracle Channel is so important to me, and I'm so proud to be part of it. What Miracle Channel is doing for people and the amount of people that we can reach with Miracle Channel, you know, it's something people need to get behind. This world, I say it all the time, I don't know how people would go through a journey like this if they didn't have their faith. I know I'm here for a reason, and it is to really reach the people and to be part of that and to build the kingdom, and so many people need this.
Isn't that so cool? Like, for those who are online, I'm very curious. If any of you guys have stories that are similar? I don't need to hear the whole stories, but I'm curious. I'd love to see real-time feedback of people who have seen God work and do miracles in your life. I know we have. I've seen so many. Gosh, we could go on, and maybe it'd be cool if we actually did a whole show of just like testimonies and stories and miracles, just to show the goodness of God. Because just as Dave said there, he's like, there's just so much garbage, so much constant negative, like filling our brain, and that's what our focus is. Like, if this is the amplified of today's verse, it says, "You will keep in perfect peace and constant peace those whose minds are steadfast, that is, committed and focused on you in both inclination and character, because he trusts and take refuge in you with hope and confident expectation." But if you flip that on its head and say, though, you can flip the whole thing back in like the complete opposite context. Your mind will be in chaos if your mind is not set on God. Like, it's like if you set it on the news and the garbage that there is. There's actually a few stories of friends that we know who have, like, were trying for a baby for a long, long time, and they were so worried and anxious and stressful and couldn't figure it out and kept trying to time things. And then something that's beautiful, like sex between a husband and wife, becomes a ritual that is just difficult and hard and reminds them of heartache, and then the joy is taken out of that, and then they can't think of this, and then it's just painful. And so there's lots of focus on that. And actually, I think it was you, tell me if I'm wrong, but you encouraged the mom, who's now a mom, to set up a crib, set up a nursery, to focus on this. And essentially, it's exactly that. You are setting your mind on the imagination of what God says you've already got, the promise of His word, and you are focusing on that instead of the problem. It's the victory position. It's what you've got for you and what Jesus did for you. And then they later on got pregnant. And, and it's just one of the coolest things in the world, because it's exactly what she did. The pool. her brain began to think about going and swimming in that pool, and she set her imagination there on what God says, that she's healed, healthy, whole, and restored. And we all know her well. She's a very good friend of ours. We know her for years.
They're amazing.
And so this is a real testimony. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that this is a real God-working miracle, and it's in the power of your imagination often. Andrew Womack teaches that so much, and the imagination is a real thing. It's very, very powerful.
And I don't know if she mentioned it, but she's a friend of ours, and I think I'm getting this right, but I think she was told she'd never get off dialysis, and she'd need kidney replacement and like permanent damage. And then she did mention that the doctor said, like, I've never seen this happen. And like, I love stories like that, because I'm like, well, you don't know the God I serve, you know, but let me introduce you to him. And so I think that can be the difficulty of a disciplined imagination, is like, you're being told things like, this is your life now. 4 hours sitting in a hospital, and I forget how often she had to do that.
It's very often.
You're battling such a physical thing that seems so real, and so you need to make sure that you're living in the spirit more than the flesh, and that you're staying in the word, and that you're saying, God, like, take my imagination, show me what you see, show me how you, and that's what I love about God, is like, when we don't feel capable of having the faith or having the imagination, I learn over and over again, just ask the helper, ask the helper, ask him to show you, because he wants to come and show you what it looks like and give you that dream. And I'm sure God inspired Sheila to be like, all right, we got to pick a date here. We got to get in the pool, like whatever it was, because he's so good that way. And so imagination, though, is something we grew up hearing Dad talk about all the time. Dad would preach on it when we were young, about like faith brings an imagination. Faith sees something different than what you're seeing in the physical realm. And so, you know, will you have that courage to just be like, okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to see something different. Because if you just take a step, you'll be shocked at how you'll begin to move in that direction. It's not like, I wonder if some people think like faith and the power of imagination is like, okay, like I decide I'm gonna see myself healed, and in 20 seconds I've got it all figured out, and I'm perfectly doing it. And it's like, no, you're stumbling sometimes, and you're not quite there, but your faith moves. Faith moves towards.
There's, like, even I went on a giant study of the placebo effect because I was so curious. I'm like, what is going on? Like, for those who don't know what the placebo effect is, it's essentially when the brain is convinced of something without being just fully convinced, fully persuaded, that if this drink has healing miracle stuff in it, whether it does or not, the placebo effect is that if the brain believes it, it will experience it, even if it's actually not
crazy.
There. And so this is a phenomenon that goes since the beginning of time, of all sorts of things, where people would trick people to do this because they actually saw results once the placebo effect was like in work. And so I began to go down this huge study of the placebo effect, and I did it from a faith perspective, because I'm going, something's happening. There's people who would have insane, amazing results because they were convinced and believed of it. And so I just started to go, okay, well then God obviously is in this, because we are the creation, he's the creator, he built us, and the thing he built is doing this. So what is happening there from the what the body has to what it's experiencing? And when you start to go down that road, you start to realize that, like, when the body is fully convinced and persuaded, it changes the literal physical DNA of your body. Not the DNA, but like the makeup of your body and what it's experiencing. And there's people who had fake knee surgeries. Like, I literally did a message on this because I was talking about the power of your belief. There's people who had fake knee surgeries in this trial they did, who had partially torn MCLs, who could barely walk and do all these things. And they did a control study under these 2 people. And the people who had fake surgeries had real recovery. Like, it was like 80% of them. And so you start to realize there's incredible power in belief when the body and the mind is fully convinced and persuaded. And you might say, well, that's not God. I'm going, yeah, it absolutely is.
Well, the Bible says if you believe, anything is possible. Like, so like there is something super extraordinary about faith. And I was listening to someone teaching this morning and just explaining how faith, and I should have been listening a bit closer, but I was getting ready for today. But she used the word sperma, like in the original language of the Bible. So this would have been New Testament. So this would have been Greek, right? New Testament was written in Greek. That when I think she said almost over 40 places where it's the word faith, it uses the word sperma in the Greek. And
it's just such a cool word.
That faith is a seed. Faith is a living
life.
Yes. And so it's just good to remember that, like, faith it is a substance. Like it plants something. Like your belief actually causes something to grow and something to be happening. And what's so cool, I was listening to somebody else and she was saying how like a farmer goes out and they work hard, but they don't do anything to the seed.
Yeah.
They plant it.
They just set the environment. Yeah.
But they don't do anything to the seed. And I think sometimes Christians think, oh, like faith is like, I got to do these 15 things, and they make it about them rather than, so I love today's verse. You know, he will keep in peace whose mind is stayed upon him. So it's like, he's just saying, let me be your sole focus. Like what I've done, how I love you, how I'm there for you. Like if you think about him, that's when I often get revelation or inspiration. Like I'll be listening to a worship song and it's like, oh yeah, God, you're so good. And if you lean into it, you'll be amazed at how like encouragement just comes rushing in almost like a flood. Have you guys had that? Where you just like, where you lean into, I believe that. And you plant that seed in that. Like, I believe God always has the victory and he gives me the victory. And then all of a sudden an image comes rushing in that I've been praying about. Or it's just amazing how like, if you'll just dare to just think about him, that's what we're saying with imagination. Like, we're not saying get in a corner and paint a painting in your head. And we're not trying to complicate it. No. Like, I think we complicate verses too much. But I love the Passion Translation in Devoted. I mean, I love so many translations, but I love that it said the imagination is consumed by him, because that is the life of a believer. Let God take a hold of how you see things, right? And how you...
Totally.
Well,
even I was just going to say how Sheila... on the thing, like she started talking to her kidneys and imagining them perfect and whole. And I think sometimes we can get caught up, people who maybe don't know that like healing has already been given to us. That's what Jesus did when he died on the cross. Healing is yours. So don't come at it as far as a begging, pleading for it to be done.
Right.
You need to come at it as far as it's already been done.
Given
I
power.
already have this healing power. So start talking to your body as if it is already whole. And that's how your body sees it with the imagination. You start seeing yourself doing the things that maybe you couldn't do before. You start seeing yourself swimming in the pool that you're like, when will I, you know, it's just instantly changing that mindset into knowing, okay, no, I'm going to speak to this as if it's already done, because that is how God has asked us to do it.
The Bible says. Sheila's living out what the Bible says. You speak to the mountain, and if you believe in your heart, it has to move, right? You speak as if things, oh, what's that verse? It's in Hebrews, guys, where he calls things that
are not as though they were.
So you know the kidneys aren't working, and that's something Grandma would always say to us.
Like
talk to your body, speak the word to your body, tell your body what it needs to do.
Because it's not a denial of reality, and that's where sometimes people, they try to deny reality. Don't say those words, I'm not sick, I'm not, it's like, let the doctor help you, and he's going to speak to your sickness, but it's like faith is a substance of things hoped for. You don't hope for something that is like, you're hoping for something that is becoming. Like it's like you're receiving it, getting it. So you're hoping for the thing that's coming. And it's exactly what you're saying, where it's, what was the verse you just said? Things that are not as though they were. So it requires an acknowledgement of like, all right, this needs repair, this needs healing, this needs restoration. That is not, and I'm gonna believe as though it is. And so that's where the imagination comes. I even think about like, Matt, when I've got a clear picture in my mind of like something I'm walking through, something that I need breakthrough on, something that we need to like get through. When the picture is clear in my mind, I no longer have to really talk about it, think about it.
It's true,
nothing.
Hey?
It's just
you're convinced.
I believe it.
You're fully convinced.
And now all I got to do is just go and do it.
Yeah.
And it's just like this confident peace that comes. It doesn't mean it's all figured out and done.
No.
It's as though. It's like there's a clicking of faith that aligns, I find, in my spirit that just gives me this like boldness to go forward.
And I, like you said, there needs to be an imagination in with that. I remember even just little things that like, not little, but things that we've gone through in our life or that I've gone through in my life. I remember one time I had a friend who was just like, but are you imagining it? And I just right away was like, oh, like I know this, right? But sometimes you just need a quick little tune up to be like, am I picturing this thing that I am believing for, no matter what it is in your life? Are you picturing it coming to pass and seeing that end result that you want to see? And I think that is so key. Like you said, it's like you have to believe in what you don't see. Don't see what's in front of you, but with faith you believe in the answer that God has given you already.
Faith comes by hearing and hearing the word of God. So everything we're saying in today's show, if you're not sure how to cultivate that imagination, if you don't know, well, how? Just just stay plugged into God's word and the New Testament, and like start reading in the book of John. Make your way through the New Testament. Stay in the New Testament, like Paul's teachings and how he's teaching you how to live out the life in Christ. Yeah. Because that's your food. Yeah. That's your nutrition. Yeah. That's your imagination fuel, is like the word. Yeah. You're not just conjuring up ideas. The word is giving you imagination.
Exactly.
You know?
That's a very good point. That's huge. Even look at when Jesus would ask people, do you believe that I can do this? Like that, he's triggering their imagination. If their imagination said no to them, he wouldn't pray for them.
Yeah.
Like now I don't have an example of him not praying for someone, but I guarantee you if that was a disagreement, we'd either see him trying to stir their imagination and belief or and get them to a place where he can, because he was always in agreement with them. And
but
so
isn't there a passage in the Bible too where he didn't even go to that town because he knew that their faith wasn't there? So it just goes exactly. It just goes to show that it is you. You're the one that needs to be
open to believing.
Yes, and just having that faith in your mind to be like, okay, God has given me all of these things. Yeah. And like Eden said, I love that. Like even the Passion translation of this, we all know it in the NIV, but I love how sometimes the Passion can trigger your brain to think of it in a different way. Cool. And in this one, like you said, it's consumed with you. Those whose imaginations are consumed with you.
I love that word.
They confidently trust in you.
Do you want to close it?
20 seconds. Oh, goodness. All that to say, I just love that we can flesh this out. This is what the show is all about. And when you have that imagination and you put God first in all of it, you will see amazing things happen in your life. We love you guys. Thank you for being with us today. We'll see you again tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Thrive.